You talk about the top 5 freedom assets. Really, all this is about how to gain your freedom.
You have to create some space to find, where your passion and your real drives are. I'm a big believer in self-education. I start with investing in yourself as the first freedom asset. That's where it all starts. That's a big part of why I wrote this book, because I want people to self-reflect and start focusing on the things that really give you energy and passion.
Hi, I'm Greg Hughes with Hughes Private Capital, and welcome to The Edge. I'm here with Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders and the Dentist Freedom Blueprint podcast. Today, we'll be talking about his newest book, What's Your Next, which launches on February 23rd and is currently available for pre-order on Amazon. What's Your Next is David's proven approach to work and wealth, one that provides more freedom, demands less sacrifice, and helps us prioritize our relationships, purpose, and legacy. We'll discuss David's approach on the top 5 freedom assets, how it ties into real estate, and how both these tools can really help investors like you. David and I met about 12 years ago and then kept running in the same circles, which allowed us to build a relationship. And about 3 years ago, I had the pleasure to be invited to be a trusted advisor with the Freedom Founders. I was excited because I knew David always did things first class, and I expected nothing less with the Freedom Founders. My role as a trusted advisor is to provide our real estate investments to the Freedom members. We meet for 2.5 days, 3 times per year. I thought I would be sitting through events learning how to run my dentist practice better. And that's a little bit of a problem since I'm not a dentist, and not much would probably apply to me. Well, I was dead wrong. There is little to do on that side. It's all about the bigger picture of how you move to the next level in life to be free to do whatever you want. Or like David says, freedom is doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it. As a trusted advisor in Freedom Founders, that bigger picture has helped me to learn to run my business, life, and personal investing better from being part of it, which is a tremendous value. So I have to thank you, David, for allowing me to be part of all this. I consider it to be a real privilege. Glad to have you on our podcast today. So welcome. Let's start talking about your book.
Thank you so much, Greg. Well, the power of association is something that I believe greatly in. And I think just through the association with Freedom Founders and being the fact that we do have a lot of dentists, even though we don't talk clinical, I have noticed your gums and your teeth look better. Not that they were bad, but they look really good, that gleaming white and healthy gums. So I think there's still some power there that maybe you just didn't recognize, but I'll leave that there for a minute. You're right, Greg. It is interesting that as we go through life, and I'm not the most, I'm certainly not an extrovert. I'm more of an introvert. I'm more of I watch, I look, I observe. And that's probably why, I don't become quick, fast friends really off the cuff. There's some people that are really good at that, right? And they're just, they make friends with everybody. I'm a little bit slower. I guess I'm a little bit more intentional, but when I do make a connection, and I believe that it's one that that has a mutual benefit, that there's core values and philosophies that don't have to be totally aligned, but there's enough alignment there. Then I go deeper, and I really do enjoy deep relationships, and I've really appreciated, as you said, our opportunity that we've had over particularly the last 3 or 4 years, as our energies and our core beliefs and what we try to do to help the people we serve have really shown really great alignment. That's what I look for in life. So I just want to say to you, it's great to also have the relationship we built.
Well, I appreciate that a ton. So yeah, it has all been good. All right, well, let's jump into your book. Great. I mean, I love this. You've taken so much of what you're teaching us in Freedom Founders and put it together in the book, and there's just so much there. So I know we only have so much time today, so I'm going to try to get to it, and let's start talking about it. So you talk about the top 5 freedom assets, right? So those are the person themselves, right?
Right.
The business, their relationships, their capital, and their legacy or their purpose on that sort of stuff. So why did you pick these 5? And what should be people thinking about? Because really all this is about how to gain your freedom, right? Which we'll probably talk about more here too. So.
Well, I start with investing in yourself as the first freedom asset, because I think that's where it all starts. you think about investing in yourself, and people think, well, yeah, I go to school. I've gone to school. I've got a trade, a degree, something that's allowed me to go, be active in life. And that's one way to look at it. But I'm a big believer, as I know you are, Greg, in self-education. So yes, we have this formal education from some point, but that's really only, I think, a license to broaden our horizon. A lot of people, unfortunately, stop short. They think they hit the zenith of their optimization of themselves when they've gotten the degree, the license, the credentials, where they are, and they think, I'm kind of done, and I'll kind of coast through life, and I'll kind of keep my specialized skill sets that I learned in school. But they just kind of abdicate the opportunity to invest in themselves further. And you and I and people we run with, we realize how powerful it is to continue to learn, not just in your own field, which is important, but outside the field. What other skill sets can you develop that maybe you never had the chance to develop because we were so focused on this one thing, getting through that one degree, to get to the next and next. And I just, again, I had to learn this, through myself. It wasn't something that anybody necessarily taught me, but I just, in looking back in my life, investing in yourself was a big one. And then number two, your business. Now, this can apply to anybody. You don't have to actually own a business. Like people think, like, I have to have this company I go to that I'm the CEO of. No, you could actually still be, I shouldn't say still, there's nothing wrong with working for a great company and providing value, but there's lots of ways that people can create, ancillary income streams outside of their job or the position they have every day to create active income. But if you have that ability, you look for that opportunity, then a business of some sort that's creating a stream of income that's not necessarily dependent upon you to be involved in it every day, which is what I call a job. And nothing wrong with a job, but that business opportunity is huge. And a lot of people miss that mark, and they're kind of looking for that bright shiny object out there that's going to save the day. It's like, no, focus on that aspect. And then number three, which I just talked about, is relationships. How much opportunity there is in curating and collaborating with the right people. Instead of trying to do everything yourself, which is kind of the way I grew up. It's like, well, David, you just got to take it on yourself. You just got to work it out. And that's a great characteristic, but there's so much ability to create a sum that's greater than the individual parts by collaborating, again, with the right people and by intentional design. I don't want to just say you just go out there and just start mixing up with anybody. You have to have some frameworks to make it work, but you've done that with Steve. You guys brought your complementary abilities together, and neither one of you could have done what you've done with Hughes Capital by yourselves. There's you could have done a certain amount, but what you've been able to leverage together, and then with your team and your culture, these relationships are so powerful. And I think a lot of people miss this because they think we're supposed to take it on ourselves. And then the fourth one is your capital, your capital freedom asset. That's the money that people will talk about, your savings, so savings, and then where do you invest that capital? Do you keep it in very conservative CDs and T-bills because, you just don't know what to do and you're very risk averse, or you learn other ways to invest your capital, which is, that's a big part of what you and I do. We help other people do that. So investing your capital so that money's working for you at least as hard as you work for it. And most people miss that whole mark. It's what I call an inflection point. And number five is legacy. And again, I will just say, I was not focused on anything about legacy in probably my first, 30, maybe 40 years of life. It was really all about, not about me in a sense of just materialism, but I was focused on, taking care of, my family, and that's important. But you realize in life that really, when you look back, it's not like, how much money you made, or how big was your company, or, how big was your house, or how big was your vacation homes. There's nothing wrong with that, but really what people look back on is, how will I be remembered? What impact did I have on other people? And the sooner you can kind of start to do that in your life, even if you're still at an early age and you just don't have a lot of free time or free capital to give, there's still ways you can impact people just on a daily basis. You can sow into people's lives. So don't think that legacy's at the end game. It's right now. You can be living your legacy no matter where you are in your life path.
Yeah, helping to build that at all times. Yeah, agreed. And that's something in Freedom Founders, that you really brought up multiple times. And I never even thought about it before, the legacy side of it, And so now all of a sudden it's on my radar and something that I'm working on, with that. So I appreciate that. All right, let's talk about, one of the deals is that themselves, or you, however you want to say it. And in your book, you say, in order to know what's your next, You need to know what provides you energy and what saps it, right?
Yeah.
Saps it. Self-awareness is a starting point for investing in yourself. Once you're aware of what ignites you, then you can pursue those interests with zeal. So the other part of your book, you also said, how do you feel on Sunday before going to work on Monday? That kind of tells you what's going on, right?
Yeah, that's it.
With
Yeah.
you, do you dread or do you look forward to it? So, I think one of the things that, how do we figure this out as people? How do we become aware of this? And part of it is just reading this and thinking about it. But I mean, what are some things that you think about when you wrote that?
Well, I will just tell my personal story. So I went down kind of the pathway that my father did, and that's not abnormal to look at a role model, whether it's a parent or somebody else, and say, I respect that person and what they do, and etc. So I went down the path into healthcare, and I was able to do that, and I was successful, quote successful doing it. I worked hard at it, but what I realized was that all the time I had this entrepreneurial side of me, and I used some of that in my dental practice, but there's only so much entrepreneurialism. It's a fairly rigid practice, which it needs to be, because you're working on people. You can't do like a lot of experimentation on
Right.
people. So it's fairly rigid. And what I realized after many years of reflecting back and realizing that really my forte is more of a visionary, a big picture guy. And here I am, I'm trying to be a dentist, which it means you've got to be very detailed in the minutia. I mean, very minutia. I mean, we're working in, a mouth, in micromillimeters. And it's like, I realized that I would have been better suited had I known this and had I given myself permission. I could still have been in dentistry. I could still be this way today, but I could be the guy, the doctor, who would like do I'll just call it the triage, meaning the diagnosis. Patients come in the door, they got complaints, they got issues. I'm great at making plans, all right? I'm just not the follow through guy. So when I was trying to do the follow through, especially on longer cases that could take, several hours, I just, it's really, I could do it, but it's hard. So that zapped my energy. Now, today, what I get to do, because I left my practice some years ago, not by accident, but by intention, but I didn't realize that freedom, the ability to free me up and actually go where my energy was. And that didn't just happen overnight. But it assimilated kind of organically. And I think so you have to create some space. Now today there are some space to find, where your passion and your real drives are. You need to be willing to collaborate with other people. We just talked about that, because again, you may have some focus points, some strengths in some areas. Like I said, I'm more of a visionary. But if I had to be the visionary and be the chief operating officer or the operator, that's where things fall apart, because I'm out here creating, I got, an idea a minute. That's not very good on taking something to fruition. So you got to have people around you that can actually, okay, David, that's a fine idea, but I think you need to put that on the back burner. And, and we have a little tug of war, a friendly tug of war. And it's good for me to get that clarity, because I'll throw out so many things out there to my people, saying, yeah, we need to do all these things. And no, you don't, you don't. There's also, Greg, today there are a number of ways that people can actually do some assessment. There's a whole host, everything from strengths finders. There's a book, and there's an online. You can do Colby. You can do predictive index. You can do Myers-Briggs. I mean, my gosh, we use one in our company called Culture Index. But what that does, these different indices help provide an individual with kind of where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and because we all have them. And so that's another way to help identify, along with what gives you energy or what takes it away.
Yeah, and really recognizing those strengths, right? I mean, you actually what your strengths are because you are energized by them, right? That's the thing that gets you up in the morning and makes you look forward to Monday. You're probably actually already working on Sunday too, just because you love it. So sometimes,
I just
on that too,
Yeah, I don't have that Monday morning syndrome. I don't go like TGIF, because I mean, other than certain things on the days a week, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't care, because every day is like something good is going to happen today. Why? Well, because I finally got myself in a position where I get to work with people that I really enjoy. And again, not that the business I was in dentistry was a bad business, but I realized that I tolerated a lot of things because I thought I had to. I tolerated in some cases, staff or employees that I shouldn't have tolerated. I tolerate patients that I shouldn't have tolerated. I didn't set my parameters tight enough because I didn't give myself permission. I didn't think you could. I thought you had to, You just had to like put up. I thought that's the way it was in the world. And as I grew with maturity and found other people who in different businesses said, David, you just don't have clarity. You just haven't put your filters on. I had to learn what that meant. It wasn't just an overnight thing. I had to learn through my own life and experiment a little bit to see what that means. And that's a big part of why I wrote this book, because I want people to self-reflect and realize that wherever you are today, that as good as it can be, but also with the aspects of your life that maybe are kind of pulling at you, and what that angst. I'm not saying you can clear it all out. There's always going to be challenges, but you can clear a lot of that out if you just start having a pathway or framework to start doing that piece at a time, not overnight, but piece at a time. Start clearing that out and start focusing on the things that really give you energy and passion.
Well, I love the way you say you give yourself permission. And I mean, that's really what you need to do, right? I mean, you tell the story about when you had one of your doctors and the families came to your house, did the blueprint, and their daughter came with them, right?
Yes.
Who was, I think, 22 at the time. She's going to medical school, and you go through the process of, do you really want to be a doctor? Well, I kind of think I should be. Do you really want to be a doctor? No, not really. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a deal, right? She got permission to kind of say, well, maybe not, even though she wasn't being pressured from her parents,
Yeah, the key word, as you said, is well, should I be? That the word should is placed upon all of us. It places in our life, not just same thing for me. It's like, you should be this, or you should, when you are this, you should act this way. It's like, well, is it really? Do I have to do it that way? As long as I'm being working ethically and with integrity, could I do it a different way? As long as I'm still providing the value that I've agreed to provide. Yeah, this young lady, actually, she has been an apprentice. We invite young people, particularly sons or daughters of members of Freedom Founders that are of age, excuse me, of adult age, to have the opportunity to apprentice in some of our meetings. And she was that. So she's like seeing this whole other side of the universe, and she's starting to debate. Do I need to go down this road of years and years and years of medical school and then into residency and massive debt, or and also why do I want to do that? Well, that's a little bit like I went into dentistry because of my dad. Not a bad thing, no regrets, but had I known what I know today, which is a big hypothetical, because you don't. Right. But in retrospect, if I could look back and had the permission and maybe had enough people around me or I associated with enough people that were like business entrepreneurs doing other things, then I probably would have been in that environment where I said, hey, you know what, this is really where I thrive. I want to do this. I don't need to be the doctor, even though that was kind of prescribed back in my day as a place where you get respect and you can have a secure lifestyle, that's all changing a lot today. That's why, unfortunately, a lot of people are having second thoughts about this massive amount of school, massive amount of debt, and then where are you after that? So, a lot of upheaval in our society today, I think, in terms of school, debt, and career paths.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so let's talk a little bit about on one of the aspects of businesses, and one of the things you talk about in there is you say, in my own experience, one of the key people you should bring on is a personal assistant, whether it's part-time, full-time, virtual, on-site, whatever, right? And I got to tell you, I learned this lesson about 25 years ago as well, and it's made all the difference in my life. I mean, it's just night and day with what I can get accomplished. And so talk to me a little bit of what your experience has been. How do we get people so they really understand the value of this?
It's hard, and I work really hard with my Freedom Founders members because I get who they are. A lot of us are typically very control freaks. I mean, we just we've been taught that if you can have it done right, then you have to do it yourself. And if I'm going to teach somebody else to do it, oh my gosh, by the time I get through teaching them how to do it, I could have just gotten it done. And I was that way for a long time in my life. Same way. And again, it's kind of permission. My parents or people that I knew in their world didn't have personal assistants. They had staff or people in the business, but not a personal assistant. Somebody who's dedicated to be your right arm, and it can be for personal things in your life, just things you need to get done around the house or paying personal bills, but also on the business side. So many things that we believe or we get sucked into doing on a daily basis that really somebody else can do. And I found that, you know, my current and really my best assistant ever is Lindsay. And Lindsay's been working with me. We've been working together for a little over 4 years. And you know, and I had tried some before. So I want to make this point. I tried some before, some virtual, and they didn't work. Now, does that mean you quit? Does that mean you go, oh no, then I tried that. That doesn't work. No, I just didn't really know how to one, vet or find the right person, and number two, I didn't know how to communicate very well because I'm kind of impatient. I don't, you know, it's communicate, you know, how to put this relationship together. Same thing with anybody you're going to work with, right? You've got to have time to communicate, set expectations, because they're not going to read your mind right away. But little by little, you start building some momentum, and little by little. And so Lindsay today, she manages my calendar. She set this time up for you and I to talk today. She manages my email. I don't do email. She manages my travel when that's occurring. She's just handling a lot of the nitty gritty. And again, you work towards that. You're not going to find somebody right out of the gate that within a month they're going to be able, but you build toward that, and you'd be surprised. Right person, right communication, right expectation set, what you can start getting accomplished because you've got this other person, and this person loves doing that. See, I wouldn't love doing that. I wouldn't, because again, I appreciate detail, but as I said earlier, I don't want to be the one to carry the detail out. It's a bottleneck for me, and either I won't do it, I'll procrastinate it, and then it zaps my energy. Well, what good is that? Now I got Lindsay who's watching my back all the time, right? As I'm creating clutter all around me. She's watching my back, and she's picking up the pieces and sorting them and sifting them. And then I talk to her for 15 minutes, 3 times a week. And that's all I need. How about that? How about that for elevating your time, right? From that short bit of time with her each week to get how much gets done because of that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So when I send you an email, that email goes to Lindsay. Lindsay looks at the email. She decides whether or not you need it. She can handle it, whatever. I love that part of it. If I'm inside of your company, can I send you an email direct, or does it always go to Lindsay? Is it which way does that work?
Yeah, well, Lindsay's always going to get it. Now, I've got 4 primary advocates in my company. Lindsay's one of those, and so I will accept anything from those 4 advocates. But again, they're respectful, and they'll typically, you know, go through Lindsay. But yeah, if it's something that we just need to get done, they don't bombard me. So again, kind of setting expectations again, that will work, but you just got to set the expectations for that.
Mm-hmm. So the lady that helps me on all my stuff is Jessica, and she does almost everything that can be done out there. And she says this to me all the time. She says, I don't know how you ever got anything done. And I said, well, that's exactly right. Because without you, it just doesn't get done. I mean, end of story, right? I mean, there's only so much time in the day for all that. So